Hi, and welcome to Thanks Again Film Podcast, episode 4. Yeah, more Dune. Dune Part 2. Going over Dune Part 2. That means I'm still covering Dune. I see it as one story. Spoilers. Since I'm talking about the movie and the books. I'm trying to think. The movie ends. Dune Part 2 ends basically where the David Lynch story ends. Surprisingly. It doesn't feel like it though. Because it doesn't have a happy ending. I'm gonna look. Is there a Dune 3? Yeah, it's Dune Part 3. Based on Dune Messiah, wrapped filming in November of 2025. They finished it. It's coming out this Christmas. Wow. Dune Messiah. This story, it had an odd ending. They couldn't possibly have wanted to end it there. It felt like a middle chapter. Like it ended on a downer. Let's see. I wanted to go over. I didn't want to go over the story beat for beat, but there's stuff. I got hooked on the idea of beauty. Part of me thinks somehow, Dune is about the search for beauty. I haven't put it together yet. The idea is that Paul becomes Muad'Dib, which is the prophet guy, who is the outsider, who shows up and who's supposed to lead the people. He's supposed to go out into the desert and figure out how to become the Kizag Zadorak, which means he'll be able to, I think it's by the consumption of spice, he'll be able to see through all possible timelines, all possible threads, and understand the best way forward. He'll be able to look at people and understand everything that they've ever been through. He'll understand what he's looking at is basically what it boils down to. At all times, apparently. So what do you do with that? If you can understand if a problem is in front of you, and you can understand every possible action to deal with the problem and can see the best one. Isn't that isn't that a lot like making art? Where you have an empty canvas in front of you and you're given a brush or whatever, and you have to make this image, and people struggle at it and they make the best possible image that they can make. Something that I haven't thought about, but it's based on their perception. But they're looking for the best answer. And then it rolls me back to Saul Bass, which is his approach to it is art is basically the search for something that's aesthetically pleasing. That's basically what the Kizak Zadarak's doing. Is he's look they whoever this person is, they will understand the most pleasing outcome, the best outcome. And to do that means that they're traveling through all space and time. It's insane the way it's written. I should look it up. They're traveling the universe and searching through all space and time to find the best answer, to find the prettiest picture, to find the best outcome. I feel like it's a search for beauty. And what is beauty exactly? When you look at the Harkonnens, and the Baron is a mess. He's a giant boil. He's pestilence, pain, hate. He's something disturbing. And then you look at his nephew, who he supports the most, Fade. And so far, the depiction of Fade has him as a type of rock and roll that shows up. And the moviegoer goes and they sit down and they look at it, and it's cool, it's fun. Look how fast he moves. He's great on the battlefield. Sleekness. Look how sharp he is. When he yells, the crowd cheers. Look at Sting with his shirt off and his hair that goes everywhere. What a wild man. How cool is that? and you look at it and it makes you smile. It looks cool. It's fun. But there's a harshness to it. It's rock and roll. There's a harshness. And I'm not sure that harshness reflects beauty exactly. I think I think there has to be peace involved when searching for when connecting with beauty. I think there has to be a peace. And then Dune gets really playful and fun where they have to walk out in the sands to go search for beauty. They have to go walk out in the sands and they have to do these odd steps. They can't walk in a straight line or do heavy steps. They have to do the weirding way and all sorts of stuff to walk. They have to approach it careful. Or because it's elusive or it's gonna get away. No, the sandworm's gonna eat them. I guess there's a protection. They're gonna get destroyed. I don't know, Dune's a lot of fun. I feel like it's the search for beauty. But what does that mean? I also, last night, I thought, when I was going to sleep, I was just thinking about it some more. And so far, my thoughts are that the Kizak Zadorak, the Emperor, so in the story, the Emperor has the power that the Kizak Zadorak is supposed to have. The Emperor is sitting in a job meant for someone who has universe power. And they aren't handling it well. He looks at House Atreides and that how well they are and how strong and powerful they've become. And he sees it as a threat. So he partners with House Harkonnen so that the Emperor isn't making wellness choices. He's making defensive choices out of, and that's ego. The shadow creeped up. He's not thinking about the wellness of everyone. And he connects with the Dark House to sabotage the wellness of House Atreides. He sees someone doing well and he decides to cut them down. Thinking they're doing a little too well. Which is dark. I don't know. That's not the search for beauty. But when you get Paul, that's the other thing. Then Paul shows up. And Paul says, I'll step into that role and give it a shot. Also, Paul is supposed to be a woman. There's all sorts of feminine surrounding Paul. He was supposed to be a woman. It, what what that has to do with anything is that it's just nature. It's just nature. I remember someone said a long time ago, or a couple of years ago, that every species, when it boils down to men and women, one of them has the peacock feathers. It's one or the other. The peacock's is the male. The peacock walks around and then it sees a lady and he spreads his feathers. It says, "Look how brilliant." And he hopes that they like him. And then they march off together. The praying mantis, when they connect, she cuts his head off after. I'm not sure what to make of that. But I think with people, men and women, women have the peacock feathers. I wouldn't call a man. Men aren't generally beautiful. That's the realm of lady stuff and fashion and design. It's a type of art. And Paul is supposed to be that. Paul is supposed to be a lady. And he's learning things that he shouldn't. Things meant for the Bene Gesserit witches. The space nuns. He's learning their special magics. It's a neat story. It's interesting. Every step of the way, when Paul steps out, he's learning a new power. Um, it's a thought. Beauty was supposed to emerge. So the desert people, they have this planet that's full of a rich resource, and it's desolate and dangerous. It doesn't have water anymore. There's no wellness, and they'll die. They have suits that hold water, their own water. Nothing goes to waste. They don't cry. These people aren't allowed to cry. If one of them dies, they have the ability to drain the water from the body to reuse it. Things are that desperate on Dune. And they march out on the sands. I was about to say something else. They march out on the desert. The people of Dune, the Fremen, they march out, and it's just desolation everywhere. And past that, it's worms. It's giant sandworms. I'm not sure what the sandworms mean. They supply the spice. It doesn't. They have to be. I don't know. They might be. They have to be consuming spice or something. But what I was getting at is the people of Dune are on this harsh world, and they're fighting for their lives at every move, at every step that they make. And what they've done is they've created what they call a prophet, or someone called the Kizak Zadarak, who is supposed to fix it. There's someone who's supposed to fix the problem that they face, this desolation, this harsh world that they have. Or they have the answer to fix it. And in writing that, that means that there's a people on a planet and everything falls apart and is destroyed, and they're on the edge of dying. And they say we need to find someone who can search for beauty. We need someone who can find the beauty in this. Which is really poetic. I think that's what this story is trying to say. They're at their wits' end. They're injured. They're hurt. It's a hurt people saying that we need beauty in our lives. And then he marches, or they march. I'm thinking he because of Paul. This person who knows feminine arts is going to march back out from the desert and speak about beauty. I know how to make this the perfect painting. And they hire that guy. And then they all hop on the sandworms. And they ride right through battle and say, we know how to make this the prettiest picture ever. Get out of the way. And the dark house doesn't have a choice. They have to. It's a fight for Paul, but they have to step out of the way. Okay, I'm gonna. Let's see. Dune Part 2. I'm glad there's a Part 3. Because I thought this movie ended on a downer. The way Chani. The way Chani looks at him and he picks someone else. I didn't remember any of it. I was shocked. I was like, Paul, you have to be out of your mind. They spent the whole time hanging out, doing missions. You look at the cover, she's walking around with a knife right next to him. And he picks someone else. He picks the princess. It's like, has power gone to your head, Paul? What on earth? I don't know. People, it's interesting. People, Paul made a political choice. Paul was thinking, people die. I could pick my happiness, or I could pick the wellness of everyone. People die. There's there's a bunch of folks falling left and right based on his happiness. So yeah, they do need another movie. It's understandable. And then Chani walks off angry. And it doesn't seem right. No, those two end up together eventually. But what happens afterwards? I mean, spoilers, Paul doesn't make it out great at the end of this. I think Paul gets punished. There's no way. I'd have to look at it again. Was it one of their kids or was it Paul? Someone in Dune becomes one of these worms. It gets crazy. It turns into super sci-fi. Okay, let me see. There's a lot of story about the struggle of the people of Dune in Dune Part 2. It was mind-boggling. What I wanted what I wanted to see was a bunch of story about him learning how to ride one of those worms. I wanted to see more about the worms. I wanted to plop down and I wanted to see the war on Dune, of them trying to um, mine for spice. I wanted to see the spice war. I wanted to see Paul trying to learn how to ride worms, like failure, actual failure. He hops on the first time and he figured it out. There's one scene, and I wanted to see more stuff between him and Chani, like dialogue conversations. And then I wanted to see the stuff where he has to go out into the desert. And past that, um, I think they did a good job. The opening scene of this movie is magical. It's an attack, but it looks magical. Paul and Shawnee fall in love as Paul immerses himself in Fremen culture, learning their language, becoming a Fedaykin fighter, riding a sandworm, and raiding Harkonnen spice harvesting operations. Now that's a good movie. Paul adopts the Fremen names Usul, translation, the strength of a pillar, and Muad'Dib, translation, kangaroo mouse. That's those little mice with the big ears and the long tails that hop on the sands. They make little footprints or long footprints. Due to the continuing spice raids, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen installs his cunning and sadistic nephew, Fade Rotha, as Arrakis' ruler. Lady Margot Finning of the Bene Gesserit is sent to evaluate Fade as a prospective Kizak Haderach and secure his genetic lineage. Apparently, Fade might have stepped into the role. What is the key? The Bene Gesserit are a group of... Wait a minute. Are a group in Frank Herbert's fictional Dune universe, a powerful social, religious, and political force. The Bene Gesserits are described as an exclusive sisterhood whose members train their bodies and minds through years of physical and mental conditioning to obtain superhuman. That is not what that means. I'm trying to look up what Kizak Haderach means. The Kizak Haderach in Frank Herbert's Dune is a prophesied super being, a male messiah the Bene Gesserit sisterhood bred for over millennia to achieve heightened mental and physical abilities, including presence, seeing the future, and access to ancestral memories. He can see memories of people that have died before him in his lineage. Though Paul Atreides fulfilled the role unexpectedly and differently than planned, becoming a powerful figure who could see both male and female ancestral pasts and futures, shortening the way to greater power and guiding humanity. He stepped into the role, but not as he was supposed to. That's a big part of this, is that Paul makes bad choices. It's odd. If Paul gets this understanding and he still makes bad choices, they save everyone by the end by destroying this dark house. And it's not good enough. I'm going to take a time out. I've been talking for about half hour. Be right back. And I'm back. Jessica travels south to unite with Fremen fundamentalists who believe most strongly in the prophecy. That's all I want to know. I want to know. I want to not everything, but I want to know about, in this movie, their perspective on what that prophecy means. And afterwards, Paul makes bad decisions. I've heard someone say it before. Paul made the wrong choice because he's focused on revenge. His whole family gets attacked. His family gets attacked. His dad dies. In the movie, Duncan Idaho doesn't make it. I have a feeling he's coming back because Duncan Idaho, I learned, is the one character that survives in Dune. Dune is that dangerous. That's why I was looking at the first movie a little upside down. Not upside down, but what a choice. Duncan Idaho, he's like I don't want to say the R2-3PO, but he's some kind of character of, I'm not going to say the main character, but the audience. The audience will survive Dune. And so will Duncan Idaho. It's a little difficult. I'm having a little bit of trouble trying to think about, ultimately, it's a big idea. Trying to think about what this means. Dune is difficult. There's a bunch of books. Um, During a raid on a smuggler spice harvester, Paul reunites with the warrior Gurney Halleck, who leads Paul to House Atreides' hidden atomic warhead stockpile. Fade unleashes a devastating attack on the northern Fremen, destroying Sitch Tabor, killing Shishkali and forcing Paul and the survivors to journey south. Upon arrival, Paul drinks the water of life and falls into a coma. Jessica hypnotically compels Chani to save Paul. She gives Paul a mixture of her tears with the water of life, which awakens him. With his emerging prescience, Paul perceives countless possible futures and identifies a narrow path to victory. Along with, he has to hit the desert. They need one more movie. Along with the vision of the adult Alea on a water-covered Arrakis, his daughter. Alea. He also discovers that Jessica is the Baron's daughter. Lady Jessica is a Harkonnen. I forgot. What? I'm trying to put that together. The Baron has a daughter. She skips over to Atreides. Baron has... Who is Paul supposed to marry? Fade. His nephew. Okay, so... Yada, yada, yada. His brother's kid. Cousins. Yeah, that sounds like royalty. They were gonna marry cousins and live happily ever after on Dune. Under the Emperor, which is more dark. If the original plan were to go, the Emperor would have, I guess, the whole idea is to shut down House Atreides for it looked like they might have figured out how to take over the galaxy. Apparently they were strong enough to challenge the Emperor. In that case, the Emperor, it's more sabotage. If I shackle, if I shackle them in this dark house, they're not gonna be able to do much, or they'll be under his thumb. They were supposed to brighten that house, but not if the Emperor is. That's two houses. He's supposed to handle the Harkonnens and the Emperor. Um. So in this, Paul Paul gets a sip of really good water. Paul meets with the Southern Fremen War Council. Hold on. Paul perceives futures. In that Bene Gesserit orchestrated her union with Duke Leto Atreides to merge Harkonnen and Atreides bloodlines in their plan to create the Kizak Cataract. I forgot. The whole plan isn't about marrying houses, apparently, so that they rule over Dune happily ever after. Everyone's trying to find the Kizak Cataract. The Bene Gesserit said that they could do magic. They could do magic and meditation that could train one of them to reach for it. Someone who could go to Dune and become a prophet. They said that they could actually train someone to do that. And it all falls apart because Paul's dad wearing a son, Duke Leto. Paul meets with the Southern Fremen War Council. From there, the movie's pretty much over. Shamley yells good. As the Emperor chastises the Harkonnens for their failures, the Fremen launch an offensive. Using atomics and sandworms to overpower the Sardaukar. That's what bugged me in this movie. Is that if you watch the Lynch version, it's a real battle of the five armies. It really is a war. They're at night in a line charging forward on sandworms. It makes me want to watch Dune, though. Dune, he did such a great job in dramatizing it. I don't know, a realness starts to happen. He dragged Dune into reality a bit. Paul challenges the Emperor for the throne. It's just so I can't help it. It reminds me of Empire Strikes Back. On how it drags down at the end. Paul challenged the Emperor for the throne. Paul got a sip of really good water, and now he believes that he can challenge the Emperor. To Chani's dismay, Paul makes bad choices. To Chani's dismay, demands to marry Irulan, having been summoned by the Baron and other great houses, arrive in orbit, ready to invade the planet. But Paul threatens to destroy the spice fields if they intervene. The Emperor has the entire galaxy. Fade Rotha volunteers as the Emperor's champion. Paul kills him. In their duel, Irulan agrees to marry Paul on condition that he spare her father. The Emperor reluctantly surrenders, but the great houses respect Paul's ascendancy, and Paul orders the Fremen to attack the orbiting fleet. As Stilgar leads the Fremen onto the captured Sardaukar ships, Jessica and Aaliyah reflect on the beginning of Paul's holy war. That's right, Lady Jessica was having another kid. And apparently she could talk to it. It was newborn and 10 years old all at the same time. Chani refuses to bow to Paul. And prepares to depart alone on a sandworm, his real wife. So, I don't understand it. Paul makes bad choices in my eyes. He wants to marry the princess to appease the emperor. The princess steps forward and says, I'll marry you if you spare the emperor. What on earth does Paul get out of that? He's trying to. That must be so he stops the orbit attack. He doesn't want the whole galaxy bearing down on one little desert tribe. At the same time, they have nukes, and they're ready to fight, and they start doing that. I don't understand. But the great houses reject Paul's ascendancy, and Paul orders the Fremen to attack the orbiting fleet. All those folks in the galaxy got shot by Paul. What is he doing walking off with the princess? I don't get it. Okay, well that's Wikipedia. That's Dune 2. That is Dune Part 2. You know what would be neat? I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look up Dune chapter intro. Um Paul walks off into the desert. I forgot how to spell Kizak Cataract. It's K something. KWISATZ. KWISATZ. Quizat. KWI Qui SATZ. Sats. The Kizat. Hatterack. Okay, let me see if there is a chapter. The Kizak Cataract and the Lisan al Gaib prophecy. You know, I picked up Dune on Audible. Moments moments like this make me wish I had picked it up, just bought a copy. I don't have a copy of Dune. And if I go over there and I play the chapter intro, that's some sort of copyright I'm breaking, I bet. Alright, fine. Chapter intros. Let's see. The first book. Book 2, Muad'Dib. Book 3, The Prophet. Okay, let's see. I want to read something cool. Do you wrestle with dreams? Dirge for Jamis on the funeral plain. From the Songs of Muad'Dib by the Princess Irulan. There should be a science of discontent. Dune notes. Someone put together Dune notes and just put a sentence instead of the quote. Well, that's a tough one. I'm not gonna find it. What's happening is people are posting chapter one. Apparently, it's okay to post chapter one of Dune. Otherwise, you gotta buy a copy. I guess life's like that. But the point is that I don't think that that strong drink of water happened in the book. I don't remember it being like that. I seriously remember Paul having to walk out into the desert and then returning a little different. He like had he had sand visions. But I'm gonna take the strong water version of Dune, where he's drinking his wife's tears. Which is very poetic, his wife's tears, along with the cleanest source of water that the people have. Their purest water and his wife's tears wake him up to see clearly. It's so odd because Paul's a young character, but he's the head of that house, and that house has power enough to almost challenge the emperor. It's one way to look at it. But the idea is, are they searching for beauty in Dune? I was hoping I'd find something there about his perspective on walking out into the desert. What is it? Is Paul's strength of a pillar and a kangaroo mouse? And Paul perceives countless possible futures and identifies a narrow path to victory. The water of life awakens him with his emerging prescience. The water of life on a desert. The water of life on a desert planet awakens him to see all possible futures. And this is the one that he picks. The search for beauty. I remember watching this movie, and a desperation is at the end. A real desperation. And it seems like the choice Paul makes is about saving lives. Where it's not what he didn't find the perfect plan of this, I do this, and then everything will lean this way, and then I can make another choice here. It didn't seem like Paul had, ta-da, the perfect plan. It felt like everything is going, all other plans end with the Emperor and the Harkonnens destroying the Fremen, or destroying the people of Dune. And this is the one. This is the one plan of where everyone makes out alive. And I guess you have to not question it that he marches off with the princess. The search for beauty. I can't. Um. Dang it. The story isn't over. But the David Lynch version, the story is over. There's Dune Messiah. Hold on a minute. Okay, this is a whole nother hour. Okay, timeout. Should I call this an episode? Yeah, I'm gonna call this an episode. I talked for a little, a little over an hour. I'm gonna call this an episode, and then I'm gonna do a little more research and figure out what happens in Dune Messiah. Technically, the story of Dune is over. If you want to watch Dune, the first book, the first movie, technically that's it. Paul. Okay, if Dune is about the search for beauty, that means that that search happens in the desert. It's a desert people wanting to heal their planet, and they describe it as the search for beauty. The Emperor tries to search for beauty, and it's what he finds healing and happy and whole is getting House Atreides off his back and getting spice production the best it can be through this dark house so that everyone everything functions like a machine. That's what he finds beautiful. That everything Dune is, you talk to the Emperor and you see how complicated and challenging things are. There are backstabbers and spies everywhere, and he's smart enough to see through it. The Harkonnens, the Baron Harkonnen, he is constantly searching for beauty. He takes oil baths. He's a vile mess, but he is in constant search to beautify himself. And he gets there's two possible choices show up in his life. Two choices come forward in his life, and one is Glosso Raban. And he's like the strongest, most energetic. He's like a strong, energetic, younger version of the Baron. He looks up to the Baron. And the other choice is Fade. And in the search for beauty, I don't think he picks the masculine brute. He picks the sleek, mindful fighter. It's interesting. Huh. And what do they want? They want spice production. They just want spice production. It's a bit of Game of Thrones. If they control the spice, then they'll do well, and then they'll move on to do even better by taking over the Emperor's throne. And then what? They'll be able to make choices that'll decide how everyone. Still is the search for beauty. The House Atreides, the Bright House Atreides. They're needed. The story has it so that they're needed. But they're the one doing the desert walk. Paul's going to do the desert walk and understand the, the search for beauty for everyone. It's about wellness, peace. It's this Dune is dead. It's a dead planet. And their last hope is to bring it back to life. Through Paul's wife's tears. We need Chani to cry. They have the most, they're gonna find the most purified water. They need purified water. They need a millennia of training. So that Paul can meditate properly. And then they have to add his wife's tears, someone who actually cares about him. They have to add her water to the purified water so that the water cares about Paul. So that's some sort of beauty aspect to it. He has to figure out how to care about everyone and beautify everything. And then he'll be able to see something. The artist will be able to look at the canvas and see what he needs to put on it. Let me think. The plan was before House Atreides' nuke stockpile. Before they went into it, their plan was to grab all the nuclear warheads that they had, hop on the worms, and go fight the Emperor and take over Dune. And then they had the best resource in the galaxy, and they would be able to decide what was good for everyone. But the desert people have taken it one step further. They said you need to see through all possible timelines. You need to see what your ancestors have seen. It's a different outcome. If Paul fails, Dune dies. The pardon, the resource of spice falls into the hands of people who don't care for it properly. Something happens to Dune. They um they were sabotaging the spice manufacturing. The Fremen die out. Then no one's looking after Dune. If they go without spice, let's say all the worms die too. Let's say they kill all the worms, being Harkonnens. That's no more space travel. Either that or things slow down a bunch. But no, they've decided there's a happily ever after. What does that mean? That everyone is in the search for beauty. This is where I feel like I have a certain understanding of what I'm trying to say, and I don't know how to say it. The Emperor was dark. There's like a little picture of the Emperor circle is at the top, and then it's like a diamond. On the left side of the diamond is the Harkonnens, and they have a dark circle. And then across on the other side of the diamond is House Atreides, and they have a bright circle. And then at the bottom is Dune, or the Fremen. The bottom is all of Dune. Um, The one at the top and the one on the side attack the bright circle. Dune at the bottom is neutral. It's dying. But their plan is it involves making all the circles bright. And the two dark ones, they sabotage. Their plan to make everything bright involves sabotaging the bright circle and attacking the neutral one. What does it mean? Something about happiness or wellness. How do you get to beauty? True beauty involves making everyone beautiful or happy. Beauty seeks to elevate everyone. It's not turning inward, it's projecting outward. Beauty projects outward, not inward. That's not right. That's not right. A bunch of darkness walking around in masks. I feel like I almost understand something. Beauty. Beauty elevates, but they have a bad understanding. Everyone's searching for it. Everyone's searching for it. Pardon. And the dark people, the ones in the shadow, the people working from their ego and living in their shadow, are getting it wrong. Even Paul gets it wrong when he thinks of revenge. But what gets it right is healing Dune, which is making everyone in that state of peace happily ever after. every possible outcome. The best one. The best possible outcome of all outcomes. Thousands and thousands of timelines. To have the ability to pluck that one which elevates and is, I don't know, a purity is what they're a purity is what they're looking for. Well, this is a podcast. This is a podcast. This isn't the essay. So I don't have to sit here. I'm going to end up sitting here for 5 hours dreaming about purity in Dune instead of letting my mind rest on it. So this is a perfect place to let go. And anyone who stumbles upon the podcast or enjoys listening to it, this is a great place to stop, and then you can think about it too. And eventually I'm gonna say something on the YouTube channel and write an essay, a Thanks Again film essay. But yeah, that's my take on Dune. That's Dune 1 and 2. They're making another one. So there's more story. But as far as the book goes, that's the first Dune book. After that is Dune Messiah. And then Children of Dune. I think. But, thanks for listening.